We've talked so much about stars on this channel, but I think it's about time I let you into a little secret. What are my favourite stars and why? Hi everyone, Vega here, and in today's video we're going to be making a ranking of my favourite stars of all, so let's get to it. Now this ranking has no particular structure or basis, and I'll let you know the reasons as we pass through each star, so I'm going to be speaking straight off the top of my head. When we finish this video, I'd be delighted if you'd let me know your own lists and what are your reasons in the comments below. At number 15 on the list is a star that, just like in reality, is actually in freefall on my list as well as away from our solar system. It's Betelgeuse. I don't know why, but this supergiant star was always my favourite star as a child, but with its fame for some reason it's dropped down my list. Everyone's favourite star other than the Sun has maybe become a little dull to a star nerd like me, even if I do say so myself. At number 14, we have Rigel Kentaurus, also known of course as Alpha Centauri A. Rigel Kentaurus is actually a much more powerful star than the Sun and doesn't often get the credit it deserves. It often gets overlooked, but Rigel Kentaurus is actually a very impressive star indeed. At number 13, its partner Ptolemy, or Alpha Centauri B, is another beautiful star in the mould of the Sun. For some reason though, the name has grabbed my attention, Ptolemy, alongside the fact that Ptolemy is actually very much like our Sun as well. At number 12 is a new entry on my list. The beautiful white star Fomalhaut is perhaps one of the least known bright stars in our local area. This southern hemisphere star is literally a depiction of Sauron's eye in The Lord of the Rings if you've ever seen a picture of it. Some of my favourite films of all time. At number 11 we have another class star, the beautiful white one of Altair. I love A-class stars for some reason, they've always grabbed my attention more than any others. Perhaps it's the fact that life is actually still possible around them, yet they're so much powerful and brighter than our own Sun. For some reason this intrigues me, and Altair is no exception. Perhaps one thing that means Altair is not any higher on the list is it doesn't seem to have a spherical shape. Now we enter the top 10 with the beautiful multiplicity star system of Capella. I love its Latin name, and its position in the winter hexagon means it's readily visible at almost all times in the winter, shining brightly in the top right hand corner. At number 9 is Castor. Castor and Pollux, for example, are always bonded together in the same sentence, but I never really liked the name Pollux, and let's be honest, Pollux, although it is actually a giant star, isn't really that massive, whereas Castor is where we begin to meet the first stars in our local area that are actually in a different category to those that surround us in our local areas. The two large Castor stars are the closest that are almost in the B class. At number 8 is the white Titan star of Deneb. Alpha Cygni is probably the most impressive star of all in our small wing of the galaxy. It would outshine anything on our local 1000 light year area has to offer. For galactical travel in the Milky Way, if it were possible just like in the Star Trek universe, Deneb would likely be a reference point and waymarker number 1. At number 7 we changed tact a little bit because Luyten's star is a tiny red dwarf, unremarkable in many ways except the fact that it's actually an elite group of red dwarfs. This group encompasses perhaps around 5 to 10% of red dwarfs that are tiny stars but do not experience regular solar flares and are reasonably stable, and this means that they could become the most habitable and hospitable stars of all. Proxima Centauri may be the closest, and Barnard's star may have a planet and proximity on its side, but Luyten's star for me is the king of all red dwarfs in our local area. At number 6, another star in Canis Minor is the bright yellow star of Procyon. It dominates the skyline of Luyten's star. Another star of the winter hexagon, Procyon captures my imagination because it's an F-class star, and this means it retains some yellowness in its colour which for me distinguishes it from the slightly more common A-class stars that surround us. Procyon has that little touch of the Sun in it, yet is still quite a giant star comparatively speaking. At last we begin to enter the top 5. The star of Vega has a special place in my heart, and indeed this channel's named after it. Vega in many ways is the most important star of all after the Sun. Vega is of course the standard bearer star, a star that which all other stars are measured by. The home of the apparent magnitude scale and an A-class star, what's not to like? At number 4 is a completely unknown star perhaps for many of you. Adara may be unremarkable or even unheard of, but it holds an incredible secret that not so long ago in our skies it outshone literally everything up to and including Venus and Jupiter. Adara is now slowly leaving us, but it came by for a visit and would have been one of the most spectacular celestial sights of all on Earth. Number 3 is the beautiful blue star of Rigel. I think this star is probably high up on most people's lists, and And my favourite stars always used to be Rigel and Betelgeuse. But Rigel has always been that little bit less famous, that little bit less mentioned and a little bit less studied. It's held its own on this list, and it probably will do so for the rest of my days. Just like a mother of our local area, Rigel is an absolutely breathtaking star. We've now reached number 2. The white dog star of Sirius has me wondering as to why it's so high on my list. As I mentioned before, I do like A-class stars for some reason, and Sirius is indeed spherical. It's nearby, and it could just be the first star we reach after our own sun, given its potential in slowing down tiny craft we may send there. As yet without planets, it remains without the cherry on top, but Sirius is the brightest star in our skies, other than the sun, and that needs no other introduction. Finally, we do reach number 1, and this is the star we all know best. Our sun is actually quite an awesome star really. A solitary G-class star, it does actually hold its own in our local area, and most of our locals' neighbourhood stars will see a bright yellow star in their skies and wonder about it perhaps. But our sun has children, us. We know what it feels like on a summer's day with the beautiful rays shielded of course by our incredible planet's atmosphere, warming us and filling our hearts with joy. The sun may be a dull and boring choice, but to paraphrase the great Sarah Connor from the Terminator films, of all the would-be fathers who came and went over the years, this star, was the only one who measured up. In an insane universe, the sun is the sanest choice. Thanks for watching, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you would like to support this channel further, you could consider buying me a coffee, and I'll link this in the description. Thanks to those of you who already did so, and some special thanks this week to Chatsworth1979. If you have any videos or subjects that you'd like to see brought to life, don't forget to let me know in the comments below, and it could just be your idea next week that shows up. Take good care of yourselves, look after your friends and family well, and I'll see you on the next one.